night and noon. And to it I'll give my life to keep on shining with the sunshine that comes out in the morning. We've made a sacrifice to get it where it is now. With our smiling faces, we share the hard times. Now nobody wanna leave it up to no one who he thinks doesn't know I care about yesterdays and today's hard times we bear.
There's enough funniness. You could tell me I agree with the Dutch. I don't mind if you love the Dutch. I don't mind. But even the person that you love that make that you'll have problem with them sometime. And in this case, this one here, we can't just accept it the way how they want to impose it on us. And
What is our steps if they do?
Okay, who do?
The Dutch.
No, but see, here's the thing. Again, let's separate the two things. And I said this to Van Huffelen, right? What the Dutch do in the Netherlands ain't my business. I really don't care.
No, but wait,
and this is where me and
you're asking the Dutch for something.
No, but no, we're not asking for. No, this is what we're saying. We have been saying again. We in the movement for total liberation, saying we want independence. There's a whole trajectory to this independence process, because when you hear other people try to diminish the whole conversation about independence, this conversation cannot be separated from independence. This whole you think, let me explain to you why this apology is coming, right? If I don't understand, if you don't do your work, you get caught behind the 8 ball reacting to somebody else's agenda. They have a plan, because another part of the apology trajectory is something called reconciliation. You keep hearing the Dutch talking about this shared future.
yeah.
This shared future. As a matter of fact, they're having some kind of top level discussion taking place next week again. It's a whole lot of top level for, what they call it, 5-country, 6-country discussions taking place. Because they're trying to insist that you accept it. But I don't know if you all have been paying attention. We've been saying this. Before this, you notice what happened after the hurricane, especially. Before the hurricane, they tried, but they didn't get a lot of things. But the hurricane was an opportune time to say, put the money there. Because, stupid black people are supposed to get stupid by $500 million of, a lot of money, and they're going to go and they're going to spend it, and so we start a little fight among ourselves on a conversation that got nothing to do with us. But 500 million supposed to make some people lose their mind, and then they start to fight. In the meantime, the trajectory has been going. So we pour money into a lot of social things now. Throw the money in, distract, we call them red herrings or shiny objects, however it is you look at it, because the real thing is the positioning in this region and who has which kind of power in the region. Don't tell me you're going to accept it and then again say, yeah, we're going to work out the details later. Slot-Verklaring should have tell you this already. If you didn't read Slot-Verklaring and didn't open your eyes then, look where you're at. Then you went and you signed some other thing called 10-10-10 and CFT and all of that. If that didn't give you a wake-up call,
that's exactly
I don't know what else. Don't tell me you're going to sign another something and then say, it wasn't too sure what the details were. Come on, man.
And this is a serious something you're signing this time.
You understand?
You ain't signing for you alone, you're signing for the ancestors who was enslaved in this land.
Do not represent me and accepting any apology.
And you cannot sign for the ancestors for 200 years ago and say that you didn't understand. If you didn't understand, just don't sign. Don't accept.
Listen, what Rhoda is saying, we got to pay attention to that,
Yes, we have been notified that there will be statements made on the 19th of December. There is also a Katshuis discussion happening tomorrow in the Netherlands where our plenipotentiary minister will be taking part. And 2 weeks ago, 2 persons, I mentioned that last time, did take part in those discussions in Curacao. So there is an effort, and we can commend the effort to have discussions with St. Martin, but we have reiterated in writing to BZK and the government of the Netherlands that we were not involved in the beginning of this discussion with the dialogue group officially as St. Martin. We are currently in the process of setting up an advisory committee, which will be specifically for slavery atonement reparations. there is an existing 10-point action plan that CARICOM has established for this purpose, which will form the basis of the discussions moving forward. A representative of the government will be sent to St. Martin. I got further information from the state secretary on this, as well as several other Dutch politicians. I've also sought discussions with members of parliament, those that support and do not support the government, to hear their stance as well. And everyone who is part of the government seems intent that this is but the beginning of what has to take place, and that is something that was sent forth by us as St. Martin already. They're still requesting another response in writing, which we may be sending. There is a letter that is drafted from the Council of Ministers, which, with my further input later today, would be going to the Netherlands as well, with certain questions. Though some of those questions were answered to me verbally, we believe that a response to our first letter, as well as to this one, is needed before we can be clear as to what will be happening on the 19th. Because it is definitely not the intention that a representative of the government is here translating the statements made by the Prime Minister, which will be made in the Netherlands, and that we then jump up and make a statement as well. So as country, we are in the process of establishing a committee. First of all, this committee will then meet with stakeholders, etc. I would definitely want to invite them to hear what the representative of the Dutch government will have to say in their statements. And thereafter, St. Martin, as well as all of the other countries involved, should be given the opportunity to assess the content of said statements/apology, to determine the value of it, in terms of the sincerity of it, and if it addresses the points that we see as important, after which we will then make a response based on their discussions. We believe that discussions must be had throughout the community, in Parliament and the like, before St. Martin can unequivocally state anything, because an empty or just coming forth and saying, okay, I acknowledge that the atrocity of slavery is a crime against humanity, check. I apologize, check. Here is 250 million, check, and we're done. That definitely cannot be the case. And I have been reassured that that will not be the case. But I must say, as a country, we must wait to see and hear what the content of said statements and or apology will be, and be given the room and space to properly analyze such before an answer will be given. Any type of answer will be given. So it will not be the intention of St. Martin to, on the spot, be accepting or denying the apology. So I hope that that makes it clear in terms of St. Martin. There are several questions that we still have, which will be sent in writing to the government of St. Martin, of the Netherlands, to respond in writing. And I am also encouraged by, even though I haven't read the details of it, the press statement I saw today that the king is also doing an investigation as to the monarch's involvement, so to speak. Because that question has also been asking. The Prime Minister is intending to apologize, despite having made statements to the contrary just last year. We know their stance on decolonization as well. So it will be very interesting indeed, because we are to move forward in this kingdom. A lot of information and awareness need to be brought to the people of St. Martin, to the people of the kingdom in general, and then the dialogue has to start as to what will this apology mean for the countries, because an apology in and of itself would not be deemed worthy of what has taken place and what we are still dealing with today. Point in fact that I have mentioned to the State Secretary, not only in writing, but also in our meetings that we held here, most recently the 21st of November, and last week when I saw her face to face, is that the 12.5% and other cost-cutting measures cannot remain on the table at the same time that an apology is being granted. So I'm looking forward to that being also addressed prior to any statements being made, as that will form part and parcel of our opinion on what this apology or statement from the Dutch government in this regard will mean. Because yes, it is good to apologize for the wrong, but that apology must come with more. So those who are not yet up to date, I would suggest you start to research yourself the 10 points action plan of CARICOM as it relates to this topic. And we as government have taken it upon ourselves to ensure that the committee is established. And as soon as it's established, that they will get to the task of doing the necessary engagements with all stakeholders and public discussions so that we can ensure that our population is well aware of what we would want to gain from such an apology.
My question is for the Minister of Justice as a follow-up to your statement concerning the strip search situation. Why did it take so long for you to make a statement concerning the situation? I mean, it happened, it was reported about 2 weeks ago, and we didn't hear anything from you until last night in a statement. So why did it take so long? And my question for the Prime Minister, decorations in Phillipsburg, is the government of St. Martin doing anything to let the Dutch side look as light up as the French side? I was looking at a way to term it. Thank you.
My questions first. Thank you, Mr. Dick, for your question. In my capacity, Mr. Dick, I like to be able to ensure that I have all the correct information before I speak, because especially your person and your capacity, you hold us to every word that we see. And so it is essential for me to be able to ask my entities what has transpired, what does the law say, what does the procedure require for me to be able to answer correctly. And by extension to that, as I mentioned in my opening statements, there is a court case that is ongoing. There is an investigation on the way. And even in those capacities, defense attorneys will take what the minister says and use it as a part of their defense. So whilst I understand we are a community that seeks quick reaction and we like the sensation that it brings within the community when we have these hot topics going, as a professional, I have to ensure I do this the correct way. Yes? Thank you.
Thank you, Minister of Justice. And now for Prime Minister.
Yes, in the past, we've had collaborations with organizations within the Phillipsburg community, business owners and the like, in terms of the decorations. I would have to double check with the Ministry of TEAT if that is taking place this year. Thus far, I was out at the last Council of Ministers meeting and unfortunately haven't been able to read up on what took place fully, but I don't have any information on that at this moment. I do understand your sentiments, yes, but we do know our situation as well.
All right, thank you both ministers, and also thank you, Mr. Andrew Dick, for your question. Mr. Lyndon Brown of BCN TV, you have the floor.
Question to the Minister of Finance. Minister of Finance, I assume that it was pending with the payment of the garbage collectors. But Minister, you take hours to settle the problem. What was the delay? I mean, reaching that far?
Thank you for the compliment, Mr. Brown. Me handling it in hours is actually a big compliment, actually. We arrived on Sunday and saw a situation on Monday, and it was resolved yesterday. So, again, I thank you for the compliment. I believe we resolved it pretty quickly, and I appreciate the confidence.
Thank you, Minister of Finance. You'd like to add anything else? That's it. Thank you, Minister of Finance, and also thank you, Lyndon. Ms. Bibi Haj Shah, you have the floor for the third and final round.
Thank you, Charity. I will pose my question to the Minister of Finance because, Minister, if I remember correctly, a couple of weeks ago, teachers of the St. Martin Academy, they had to strike before they were paid their vacation allowance. Yesterday, what we see, yes, you resolved the matter in a matter of hours, but was this necessary that contractors had to actually block the entrances of the landfill before a solution was found? We also have a situation going on with all Catholic schools on the island. None of those teachers received their vacation allowance. I asked about this last week. The Minister of Education promised to give a follow-up. I'm still waiting. I mean, we are in the Christmas season, Minister. Do we have to have industrial action taken before things are done?
The first one was in regards to the schools, I believe. So again, it's unfortunate that these matters haven't been resolved. The government did their part, for sure. As we've mentioned time and time again for months on end, that we've paid out the subsidy to all schools, right? And the proof is in the pudding, because we've seen schools already paid out, right? So you've seen NEPA, you've seen Christian Hillside, and a few others, right? So it's not that they can't pay out. We've also, the Minister of Rami and myself, at that time as Deputy Prime Minister, we also sat with the different school boards, and we went through the different processes and so forth to help look at different options, and also had different discussions in regards to subsidy and so forth. After these discussions, we've seen many of those schools paid out subsidy. So I would say, I would hope, vacation allowance, vacation pay. I would really hope that the school boards are paying attention, and they don't take the meetings that we had in vain, and they pay out the vacation pay, because it's within their capacity too. And on top of that, they did it before. Just think about it, right? So it's 2020 we had these laws. In 2021, they all paid out. It wasn't an issue at that point in time, right? So if you did it then, you could do it now. And this time, you also had a lot of support, personal support also, in regarding possibilities on how to pay it out and still remain within the 12.5%. But in addition to that, as I mentioned before, my opening statements, our trip in the Netherlands was successful. The LNT law was passed, and all of these other conditions that we had, we've achieved, and we believe that in 2023, these matters will be long gone. In regards to the last one, you also mentioned regards to the heavy equipment. It is unfortunate that it had to lead to that. And I don't necessarily blame the heavy equipment operators, right? I believe if you're doing a job, you should get paid. And on government end, we have to do a better job of keeping track of contracts, right? And that's why I said, especially now being in a dual capacity, the Ministry of Finance will be supporting multiple ministries in this effect, but also very strictly holding accountability at a high regard within the ministries. I want to also be honest, right? We also have, I'll say this, old habits die hard, right? But old habits will die, especially with me as Minister of Finance, and especially in the different ministries. Individuals will be held accountable, but on the other end, we also will be providing trainings to the persons that want to succeed. The Ministry of Finance has also started a process of finalizing the tender law. This has been a discussion in Parliament in regarding to the tendering process. The tendering law is not a situation that we invented, right? Every government before us, even having to have some MPs that were here before as ministers, without this law, conveniently, asked us, when are we going to do this law? And it will be done. We've started this process. We will have a tender law, hopefully before the end of 2023. And we will be looking at other possible solutions to avoid further tender delays in the future. And I'll discuss these in a couple of weeks when we are a little bit further along.
Minister, you'd like to add?
Yes, I'd like to also address the situation of something that we've noted that is a serious concern for us in government in being able to maintain our contracts timely. In this case, it's the heavy equipment operators, but there are also vendors that are carrying out services for government that also have an issue with receiving late payments, etc. So it does have a lot to do with the red tape and the bureaucracy within our system, what has to be in an advice to be able to pay. And when contracts run out, if you don't do it in time, it's a difficult situation to deviate from the accountability ordinance. And that takes some back and forth and delays payments, and then that creates a cyclical effect. So yes, indeed, I totally agree with the Minister of Finance that more needs to be done to ensure that the procedure starts on time and that it is timely followed up and it is built properly. The advice to award somebody or to continue with a contract, extend the contract, or whatever the case may be, is done timely so that we avoid these types of situations where service is being rendered and the payments are not timely made. So this is one of the goals that we aim to improve on. It is something that we've met. Yes, we've been here quite a while. People would say, oh, you're the longest serving government, but change is a bit difficult to achieve when you are lacking some key personnel or you're seeing that there is a need to build a certain capacity to ensure that it can go faster and in a more conscientious manner. So that is something that we're definitely all ministries that are responsible in this area working towards. And I apologize to any of our vendors who are still awaiting payment. We're doing our best to ensure that we can get some done within the next couple of weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, both ministers, and also thank you, Bibi. Mr. Andrew Dick of TV15, you have the floor.
Thank you. Minister of Justice, can we get an update on the on immigration as far as the project that you launched earlier this year together with TIAT with the employers? Have persons been sending letters? How's that project going?
Thank you, Mr. Dick, for your question. Yes, so I did as well provide a follow-up to persons that are going to be applying within the program to submit a letter to my person so they can receive a response. I think that that is important for them to have that tangible document with them. God forbid, while immigration, who continues to do their job, is busy doing that, if there was an encounter, they can be able to provide something to confirm that they are part of the process. The task force is in place, and they have provided us with an email address. Forgive me that I don't have it at this moment, but it should be published as soon as possible, that if there are any questions persons may have with regards to same, that they can be provided. What we are busy with right now, though, is our staff have gone through certain collaborative trainings with each other in preparatory work. We wanted to start November at first, or I believe it was, but due to some challenges with equipment, that got delayed. I do not yet have confirmation between my person, the task force, and Minister of TIAT and VESA. What would be our new launch date, but I know it is within short that we want to have that done. Those updates are forthcoming. Sorry that I couldn't give more concrete information, but the project is in the pipeline.
But people are sending in.
Oh, yes. I get those, like a whole lot of those daily. Yeah.
Thank you, Minister Justice, and also thank you, Andrew Dick. Mr. Lyndon Brown of BCN TV, you have the floor.
Question to the Minister of Justice. Minister of Justice, can you elucidate what is your place as Minister of Justice? Like, for instance, there was incident where a mental patient been passed away, and up to now, Minister, there is no answer what really happened to Lance Richardson that have passed away in the prison. And also, now you mentioned about the female that have been sought, Minister. Do you also join with the Commissioner of Police and also apologize also?
Oh, definitely. Even with putting out the complaint committee as of today, I think that I have shown and continue to show the public that I am seeking for us to have an operation that is based on respect. Okay, I want to be able to have an organization. Nothing is ever going to be picture perfect, but I want to make sure that the organization, as much as possible, execute their duties in a respectful manner and one where everyone can trust. And that is ultimately what you want to be able to do, is trust your justice system. Yes, we have some instances where that becomes questionable, but I do believe all efforts are being made to be able to correct that. And oftentimes when something negative arises, then you recognize opportunity to improve, and that is something that I see that we do as much as possible. With regards to your mention about the mental person who passed with us, Mr. Lance, the prosecutor's office does have an update on that. I'm going to ask them when they're going to put out that information with regards to their findings and their conclusions. I know that they are in discussion with the family, so the family is well aware of their developments. But I have to find out from them, get an update from them when they intend to give the public an update on same.
Jam where we want it. DJ Section presents BBB, the the Booyah Birthday Bash, celebrating DJ Sexer's birthday. It all goes on Saturday, December 17th at XO Nightlife, featuring Yuri, CO the Artist, Devon George, aka Michaela,
I like this like Michaela,
and Dirty Dog Pudas.
Right now he's backwards.
Plus a surprise guest artist. Also with music by DJ G-Star, DJ Bruckshot, DJ Jojo, DJ Siwo, DJ Darian, and Top of the Top DJ Blaze. Tickets are $25 early bird, $30 in advance, and $35 week of the show. Tickets available via the K-Band app or call 553-5364. Doors open at 9 p.m. until 4 a.m. Contact 556-0361 for VIP reservation. Saturday, December 17th at XO Nightlife. We're celebrating DJ Sexer's birthday with the Booyah Birthday Bash, presented by DJ Sexer and JW3.